Washington, the class of the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 not classy enough to play with college football's elite. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Pac-12 title game. Washington 10 at Utah 3. Not a scintillating offensive showing, to say the least. And you guys know me in listening to my analysis. I'm not a offensive fireworks guy that I have to be impressed by offensive shootouts, because most of the time what happens is that the defense is more in play than the offense, that the offense is scoring a ton of plays, not because the offense is that good or executing at that level, but the defense is that bad. So I'm not bothered by the 10-3 game, but it clearly shows us in watching the game, every play of the game, that the Pac-12 cannot compete at its best, which is Washington, with Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, on down the line, Georgia. Washington is one of the 15 or 16 best teams in the country, something in that range, and they're at the back end of that. Utah is a top 25 to 30 team in the nation. And the Pac-12 does not belong in the college football playoff. Now, of course, based on the way I would set up the system, the Pac-12 champion does belong in the playoff, but looking at the eye test and in regards to the resumes coming into the game and what we know about Pac-12 football and its inability the past 3 seasons to match up with the rest of the nation, this league is clearly behind the other ones. But credit Washington, and our congratulations to the Huskies for winning a major league, the Power 5 Pac-12. All right, they are now 10-3. Let's run through the game, and I'll let you know what I think about the Huskies and the Utes and how this one played out. So Washington gets the football right out of the gate. They go 13 plays. They keep it for 13 plays and 52 yards. They reach the red zone of Utah, and they go for it on 4th and 6. I had no indication that Washington's kicking game was in such dire shape, but this turned out to be the theme of the game on offense in regards to Washington's play in the red zone. Jake Browning threw an incompletion. He was clearly off his game. He didn't play that well, not just statistically, because Utah was very, very tough on defense. And I don't want to take away from either one of these teams in regards to the talent on the field or the toughness of the two teams and the physicality of this game. These are two hard-nosed teams, the most physical teams in the Pac-12, just not elite college football teams. So anyway, Browning throws the incompletion on 4th and 6. They have the ball in the red zone. They don't kick the field goal. And Washington would repeat this pattern. Aaron Fuller on the next series had a big gain down to the Utah 39 as he caught it. The Utah defensive back missed the tackle. And then Ty Jones, inexplicably on a slant in which Browning delivered the ball, didn't catch the ball cleanly, didn't catch the ball. It kicked off his lap as he laid on the ground, and it was intercepted there at the Utah 23-yard line. So there was the interception by number 28 for Utah. Didn't look up his name, number 23, as I typically do. Number 28 at the 23. Okay, so there's 2 wasted trips for Washington. One on the pass deflection, interception, and the other one bypassing the field goal, going for it on 4th and 6. Browning made an awful throw the next trip down the field in the red zone or near the red zone. On a 3rd and 5, throwing the ball to the outside, had nothing on the throw, but he picked it up with his legs as Washington went for it on 4th and 5. He picked up the yardage down to the 18-yard line. Washington kicked the field goal to go up 3-0. All right, 3 drives in the red zone and just 3 points. Utah's first drive, they kept going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Finally, they got a drive going near the end of the first half. They get it all the way down to the Washington 30. Taylor Rapp, though, wrapped up the sack on the quarterback, Jason Shelley, the backup quarterback for the Utes, to drive them out of field goal range. They ran out the clock, and we had a 3-0 half. Needed to mention off the top that Utah was without its 2 best and most productive and also most important offensive players in quarterback Tyler Huntley and 1,000-yard running back Zach Moss. So that obviously hamstrung the offense as well. All right, so Washington at one point in the first half, I noted, had a 162-37 yardage lead, and it was something close to halftime there. And until that final drive, Washington had run 26 plays in Utah's end of the field, and Utah had run 0 plays in Washington's end of the field. A putrid offensive showing for the Utes in the first half. All right, they get it cranked up in the second half. Jalen Dixon was part of that. Made 3 guys miss on a swing pass and takes it out to midfield. Then on 3rd and 9, Jason Shelley hooks up with Demaria Simpkins down to the 35-yard line. And then Matt Gay, the Lou Groza Award winner from last season, kicks a 53-yard field goal, barely makes it, and we've got a 3-3 game. So Washington had dominated to this point. 3 trips to the red zone, only a field goal. Utah only gets 1 drive going. They kick the 53-yarder, and we've got a 3-3 game. Okay. Then the Utah wide receiver drops the pass, deflects it up in the air on the out route. Byron Murphy made a few huge plays in this game, and I believe based on the celebration and the awards ceremony at midfield that Byron Murphy was the MVP of this game. He picks it off and takes it all the way for a touchdown. So we've got our first touchdown of the game midway through the third quarter by the defense, and it was 10-3 Washington. Britton Covey, Utah's most productive receiver, leads the team in receptions and yardage. Out for the game, knocked out sometime in the second quarter in this one, so that was key, obviously. So now at this point, they're missing their quarterback, their 1,000-yard rusher, and their leading receiver with about 55 catches. So the Utes not in good shape from that standpoint. Jordan Miller had a pass interference that put Utah close at about the 45-yard line, got them past midfield, and when I say close, that was close for the Utes on this night. And then on the very next play, Jordan Miller played a perfect defensive back coverage concept in shielding the wide receiver, beating him to the football, then shielding him, picking the ball off inside the 10-yard line to thwart that Utah drive. All right, number 52 for Utah, John Panacenia, blocks the field goal to keep the Utes close. So in this kind of game, it has to stay at 1 possession at this point in the game because otherwise it's out of sight. Just such little offensive activity for anybody to come back from 2 scores down. And so it was a 10-3 game, and Panacenia kept it within 10-3 with a blocked field goal. This is an incredible statistic. Washington didn't score then, so they missed the field goal on the blocked field goal. They had the ball for the entire fourth quarter up until 5:10 left in the game. They had kept the ball for 10 minutes. Washington with the football. All right. And so Utah gets the ball back. And then on a third down play, Byron Murphy makes an exceptional interception on the out route to the outside. So this is his second pick of the game. He goes pick 6, and then he makes a key play in stopping the Utah, what would have been possibly a drive. They didn't get it started. They had a 3rd and 10, and they go 3 and out as Murphy picks him off. Joe Tryon also had pressure on the quarterback on Shelley to force the interception. So the Huskies are set up at the Utah 36. But, of course, the Huskies couldn't move it. Utah sends them out on a 3rd and out, 3 and out situation. It's a 4th and 9. And so Washington punts. They send it down to the Utah 7-yard line. So here's the situation. There's about, 3:24 left in the game. Utah's had its own 7, needing to drive, had 93 yards down by a touchdown to tie the game. And they dink and dunk it down the field, and they're pretty effective as Washington clearly went to its a prevent defense as they went to 3 defensive line, and so the pass rush was non-existent for the first half of this series. Utes go with Samson Nakua for a first down at the 19, then Jalen Dixon a first down at the 36, then Dixon again to the first down at the 48, then Nakua catches the first down pass down to the Washington 40. That's where it stopped. Then Washington got more aggressive. They went back to aggression mode. There was about a minute left in the game. Actually, at this point, we were down to about 25, 30 seconds. Keith Taylor makes a big hit on Dixon on a swing pass to the left side in which Utah had it set up, but they missed Dixon on the block, or Taylor on the block, and he just drove Dixon down for a 3rd and 12 play. And then on the 4th and 12 play, down the middle on the crossing route, Byron Murphy, who had the two of the biggest plays of the game, the pick 6 to make it 10-3, the biggest play of the game, and then also a big play on the interception that stopped the previous drive and eventually forced Utah to have to drive it from its own 7. He got the pass break up on 4th and 12. He arrived early. He hit the receiver technically a little bit early. Do we see that play called? Probably 50-50. 50% of the time, the officials, I thought, were going to throw the flag. I was expecting to see a flag on the field, especially considering, well, this is for the game right here. And there goes the flag. Let's see if Utah can score. Let's give them new life. And it was bang, bang, and he did arrive early. So technically it was a pass interference, not called. Not an egregious non-call, but not called on a technically pass interference call. So that was the end of the game right there. 10-3, Washington wins. They win their second Pac-12 championship in 4 years. Myles Gaskin and Jake Browning in particular, the entire senior class, but we mentioned those guys because they are, as we talked about with Chris Fetters from Dogman, the Rivals platform, or 247 Sports, excuse me, the other day, that Browning and Gaskin have obviously been historic players in the Washington program with all the records that they've set and the accomplishments. And this is another one, going to the Rose Bowl for the first time. Of course, their other Pac-12 championship resulted in a college football playoff appearance. Kyle Whittingham, not happy. I can't blame him. He comes off the field. He was going nuts, pointing out the official who failed to make the call. And I don't know that he'll have anything to say post-game, of course, because of rules in play that you can't criticize the officials at the podium. So, again, Washington, a Pac-12 champion for a second time in 4 years. And for the fourth time in 6 years of the college football playoff, for the fourth time in, let's see, it would be the third time. This would be the third time in 5 years, the second consecutive year that the Pac-12 has missed the college football playoff. Let's see here, 2014 through 18, that's 5 years. Yes, the Pac-12 misses 3 times in 5 years the college football playoff. Utah, based on my research and most of the sites I looked at, most likely is headed to the Holiday Bowl to take on Iowa. The Utes finished the season at 9-4, win their first Pac-12 South Division championship at 6-3. And, of course, Washington is the class of the league right now. Not by a ton, but they are significantly better than anybody else, and the program's in great shape, considering Clay Helton at USC coming off a miserable year, Stanford not recruiting at the level of Washington. Washington State played extremely well, much better than I expected them to this year. Mike Leach is an exceptional coach and has done a great job at Washington State. But once the two teams got on the field in Pullman, we got to see again the Huskies outclass Washington State. They're a much more developed program when it comes to recruiting prowess, bringing in elite athletes, and when the two teams get on the same field, it's really not that close. So Washington is the class of the Pac-12. I would consider a top 15 to 20 team in the nation. Utah a step behind in losing this one, albeit without their top quarterback and running back, and through half the game for the second and third quarters and fourth quarters, I should say, their best wide receiver. Your thoughts on Washington football, the Pac-12, and Utah as well. We accept and would love to see what you have to say here about the Pac-12 championship. And as we go through championship weekend, anything else you'd like to bring up right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.